Hi everyone! Welcome to my second Artist Alley experience vlog. I just had my second Artist Alley and it was my very first time solo tabling. So in this video, I'll show you the behind the scenes, fun moments during the con, lessons learned from solo tabling, and my thoughts about Baltimore Comic Con at the end of the video. The beginning portion of the video will also include tidbits of shopping for the new iPhone and ASMR unboxing. Enjoy! It's fun to be with you. And on the back, wow, 0149. This is one step at a time. One step at a time. As you may know from my first Artist Alley vlog, it's only been about a month since my last Artist Alley, but I decided to do a practice setup at home again because Baltimore Comic Con table sizes were 6 foot instead of 8 foot, which is what I had before at Fairfax Comic Con. Also, I generally had some more products than before, so I wanted to try it again, and I'm really glad that I did the practice. Only if you could come with me to the Artist Alley. Wouldn't that be nice? One thing that made me a little bit nervous leading up to Baltimore Comic Con was that I was really low on stock on some of my products. It had only been a little less than a month or so since I last tabled at Fairfax Comic Con, and I didn't have time to restock, and I also hadn't planned to attend Baltimore Comic Con until pretty last minute. So that did make me a little bit nervous, but I thought it would still be a good learning experience, and I knew most of my products are homemade, so I tried to restock on whatever that I could at home. Comfortable like that? So, a little bit about Baltimore Comic Con. It's a 3-day convention from Friday through Sunday, and it's focused on comic books. It's interesting to me because, to me, growing up, manga were the same genre as comics. And it still may be officially, but before going to this event and at the convention, I heard a lot of chatter around how this convention is really geared more towards folks focused on comics. And I think what that actually meant is that they're sort of more popular amongst Marvel, DC fans, and more, of course. But just something that I noticed and heard a lot of folks chat about at the convention. And I do think that was true given how my sales went and how I saw some of the other sales went, but I will talk about that more at the end of the video. My husband Cray had to leave to get to work after helping me put up the wire panels, but honestly, loading in and bringing everything over to site and setting up the heavy wires are the biggest part of setting up for me, so it was a huge help just to get that support. So if you're ever solo tabling, I do recommend if you can find a helper who can just do the initial setup support and loading in, that alone will be of huge help. Here you're seeing me struggling to actually put up the banner because the table was thicker than what I had before, so my clips were not big enough. On top of that, the table was also narrower than what I had planned for, so I had to switch up the wire panel structure a little bit than how I had done the practice. So one learned lesson is not everything may go as you planned, even if you try to plan it out or practice at home, and you just sometimes have to work with what you have. But of course, I try to prioritize the safety so that the wire panels and such, they don't fall over. So I think next time I'll probably try to figure out another backup wire structure for that. It was my first time tabling on a Friday, so I didn't really know what to expect, and Friday was quite slow for me. I even got some time to doodle and even purchased this little keychain. Day 1 complete! Friday was generally slow, as I mentioned, but artists around me who were at the convention last year told me that Saturdays and Sundays were a lot busier, so I'm happy to be back home with Louie and hoping that Saturday and Sunday is better. Friday hours were 1 p.m. to 7 p.m., and especially with Cray's support and food, it was totally doable. But day 2, Saturday hours were from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., and especially doing it solo for the first time, I braced myself for a long day with a big breakfast and brought lots of snacks. But next time, I think I'll pack an actual sandwich or lunch or something if the venue allows food, because you need fuel to keep yourself going. I was very, very tired at the end of the day, especially because I didn't really have proper lunch.
So good.
Anything that has like evolution.
Also, one more moment that I couldn't capture was there were two girls who came to my table and they didn't purchase anything, but they did tell me that they really like my hair, and I didn't have any cosplay, so I thought that was so sweet. When I got to Baltimore, it was really scary because I saw a huge gray smoke coming out of what I thought was the convention center at first, where the con was at, and next to my parking lot too. But it was actually 2 blocks down from the venue, and the security of Baltimore Comic Con also didn't seem to know what was happening either, as the fire had just started. So I stuck around the area outside for a bit to make sure before I go indoors and underground, as I read online also that the fire was spreading across 6 buildings, including the Orioles Stadium. Thanks to the 200 firefighters on site, the fire was contained from spreading any further and did not affect the convention center or reach it. I started setting up a little late because of the traffic and fire and everything, but I noticed that even when you're setting up, customers who walk by will purchase if there is something that they saw or like from your table. I had a VIP who knew exactly what they wanted from my table without even looking much, and when half my table was even empty too, as I was late to setting up. So, one lesson learned I had is to try to get to the venue and set up as early as possible before VIP hours if you can, so there's no missed sales, but also really so you can give your customers the best experience instead of, trying to scramble to set up and greet your customers at the same time.
I love your art style. It's so cute.
Thank you so much. How are you doing today? Because I was by myself, I didn't get to explore and walk around the artist alley, which is one of the favorite things that I like to do, but I did get a chance to purchase this little guy for Cray. Here are some of my bestsellers at the con. My bookmarks did really well, which makes me happy as they're all homemade, and I put a lot of effort into making these quality and sturdy. My smaller prints generally did well as well, similar to what I experienced in my last artist alley. There were even multiple customers who asked me if I had specific types of prints, and this made me so happy to hear. And I have for a long time been working on some of the sketches of them actually, so that made me even happier. So stay tuned on more prints to be added to my shop. And some of my stickers as well. One of them was actually made based on the idea from last Artist Alley when a customer asked if I had a print form of it in a sticker. So I turned it into stickers, and they're now one of my bestsellers. For me, Saturday was the best in terms of sales. Sunday was next best, followed by Friday. There was actually a big uptick of foot traffic and sales on Sunday compared to the other 2 days for me, and it seemed like a common trend at the Artist Alley as some vendors even left early on Sunday afternoon. Although Sunday was a slower day for me, my favorite day actually at the event was Sunday. Why? Because there were customers who purchased from me on Friday or Saturday that came to my table to hang out, to give tip, and there were also a couple of people who returned to my table to purchase after scoping things out at the convention through the weekend, which means a lot. And generally, one of my favorite things about tabling is customer engagement, and I really value connecting with them. So it was my favorite day of the weekend personally. I only have one other experience to compare to, and I made similar profit at Fairfax Comic Con, which was a 2-day convention last month, very local to me, with easy load in and load out compared to a 3-day convention at Baltimore Comic Con that's bigger but it's farther, with longer hours and a tough load out for me personally. My table location was in the middle of the artist alley and not bad at all, but even some of my neighboring artists who were at the convention last year said that they did better last year in 2023. But do take all of this with a grain of salt because this is just my opinion and my experience. There are artists who agree with me, but I also know some artists that did really well this year, and I didn't have a helper this time, so I think it depends on your art style and audience and situation, and of course the table location too. With all this said, I'm still very, very happy with my experience at Baltimore Comic Con. I did make profit and everything, but I'll have to think about if I want to return to the con next year. But what I think was most valuable and most important was that I got to meet a lot of amazing customers and fellow artists, and I think that's huge. It was a really fun experience, and also it was my first time tabling solo, and so I learned a lot and am thankful for this opportunity for a second Artist Alley. I hope that was helpful for you all, and my next Artist Alley will be either in the winter later this year or early next year. So stay tuned and click subscribe if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful. Thanks so much!